Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Drew Durrani, and I'm your host. Leo, so good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you, Drew.
So I always like to thank the individual who introduces me to my guest, and this one was very different because your virtual assistant stumbled upon the podcast and reached out to me via email and told me this amazing story about you and that you'd be interested in coming on. And I always like to, rather than say, yeah, that story sounds great, here's the booking thing, have them come on. I want to meet my guests and get to know them and get that connection going and the positive energy. And so we did that. And I definitely wanted you on, even, just especially after meeting you. So that's how we initially met. Now, why did I want Leo on? Well, my audience, you guys know that I always say that, we're young, we're taught that life is linear, and it's not a malicious teaching by our family or friends. They want it to be for us, and they hoped it would be for them. And they tell us, if you do A plus B plus C in that order, D is going to happen. And for the most part, when we're young, life is linear until it's not. Always external circumstances come our way and get in between those letters and kind of derail that straight path and put us into a more circuitous route. When those external circumstances happen, we either see them, those that we either notice and recognize that adversity, or we don't. And if we do recognize it, we have a choice of either ignoring it and keeping life the way it is, or we do something about it. I believe that there's three types of men out there. There's man number one, who's got a ton of blind spots, doesn't notice the adversity, just lives life the way he's told to live it, and that's it. Nothing changes. And then there's man number two, who sees the adversity, yet he says, "Nah, I'm the victim. That's everybody else doing this to me. It's life doing it to me. I'm gonna blame all these people and all these circumstances, and I'm not changing anything." And on his deathbed, he has a ton of regrets, man number two. Man number three is Leo Mars, the men and women I have on this show. Man number three is the man who has a heightened self-awareness, sees the adversity, and says to himself, you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm going to do something about this. This is not a barrier. This is an opportunity. This is life doing it for me. I'm going to take some massive action, do something different, and I'm going to become a stronger man on the other side. So, Leo, reach back as far as you can. Find that defining moment, whether it was that tap on the shoulder, the whisper in the ear, or like I needed, the 2x4 upside my head, that transformed you from the man you were to the Leo Mars you are now and kind of changed you forever.
Got it. Yeah, there were actually I could speak to two big turning points
Okay.
and both very profound lessons. I'm 42 now. The
Mm-hmm.
first hit at 27, and the second one hit around 30, I guess it would be 38
Mm-hmm.
years old.
Okay.
The first one was a little bit more. So I think I mentioned this to you in our first chat. I was at the time I was running a nightclub and a four-star restaurant, had an award-winning chef. Was really kind of in some ways at the top of kind of the materialistic kind of uh,
Yeah. Pinnacle.
pe- pinnacle kind of pecking order
Yeah.
and slipped into this. I was, visiting my father in Alaska, taking a week
Okay.
break, and I basically slipped into an altered state, just completely sober. My sense of self basically was nowhere to be found. I
Mm.
was still looking through my eyes. It wasn't out of body, but
Yeah.
I was everywhere
Okay.
and that was, I would say, that was the first. I would call that like kind of in the category of spiritual experience.
Okay.
for me, spirituality is having to do with matters of ultimate concern. It's a very
Mhm.
practical inquiry. So
Yeah.
that was a shattering of who I thought I was. I thought I was the ego, the personality, the possessions, the body.
Right.
And I would say that was in many ways serendipitous. It was mostly beautiful in the beginning, but it
Mhm.
led to a several year depression because
Oh
I
wow.
I was really struggling with like, how do I reconcile this life? How
Right.
can I be everything?
Hmm.
And if you're everything, you're essentially no thing. Um, how can I
True.
be that and be a
Right.
person at the same time?
Yep.
And so that led to a solid decade of inquiry into reconciling that.
Okay.
So for the most part, that was kind of a beautiful experience.
Right.
Though I, like I said, I did go into a depression. But the one that really hammered me
Hmm.
was the one that happened more than 10 years later.
Okay.
Uh, I know I told you a little bit about that on our
Yeah.
chat, but
You did. Yeah. Well, if
that was the
you
one
want to,
that
yeah, if you want to
all
share
but
that,
destroyed me.
because I
Yeah.
mean, you can either, share that along with why you fell into depression after all these tangible tactile things were going well. The award-winning chef. Like some people out there wonder, I don't understand how you can fall into depression if you have all that. But then there's some people out there
Yeah.
who say, I get it because I've been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Can you touch a little bit on the depression and then 10 years later, what then happened to even turn your life around for, uh, I guess, for the worse for a while until you bounce back again?
Yeah. Had really no other choice, but really for me it was either the end of my life or I turn it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the depression on the first kind of big turnaround or pivot, that really, so I was able to sell my venue, and
Yeah.
it looked like this kind of beautiful exit transition into a new phase of life.
Yeah.
After I sold the venue, which was it was less than 2 months after that shower experience,
Yeah.
it really was kind of like, wow, I'm on top of the world. I just
Yeah.
exited my business, and I got a one-way flight to South America.
Oh, wow.
Got a stack of great books, um, Joe Dispenza, and some
Yeah.
philosophy
Yeah.
and psychology stuff. And what was really hard for me is I went into a deep, like multi-year phase of kind of
Mm.
self-loathing. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
I I was really
Because you
struggling
left,
with
like kind of high, thinking this is great. I'll take the money I made from the venue. I'll go away to South America. I'll read some books, learn about myself,
yeah,
really expecting to go up higher. And
yeah,
why self-loathing? I'm curious. I'm not sure you're going to get into that, but that one
yeah.
surprised me. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So really for me it was like it was really kind of that experience in the shower was what I would call like and call it by whatever name you will. I
Yeah.
think it's quite practical for me, these like non-dual states of enlightenment
Yeah.
and oneness and whatnot's very practical. It's
Hmm.
like, it's very primary before the
Yeah.
personality. But what was challenging for me was I had that experience had catalyzed a path of service and
Right.
of real contribution to the world.
Yeah.
And I had seen how, wow, I've just spent my entire, even going back to, being an entrepreneur in my preteens, like it was always materialistic drive. It was always,
Yep.
money and ego,
Yeah.
recognition.
Yeah.
And then with the venue, I was beating myself up for kind of having contributed negatively to so many people's lives.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
Selling millions of dollars in booze and just
Got it.
like
Got it.
pushing alcohol
Makes sense.
consumption.
Yeah, making sense. Okay.
And of course, there's drugs and everything else in there. But
Yeah,
really, intoxicating people and contributing to people's losing of self as opposed to
makes sense.
finding of self.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that was the big thing there. And then also, I kind of realized how messed up I was. as I started to become more self-aware, I started to see how, in many ways, how many voices were in my head, how those
Mm,
voices were very self-oriented, very selfish.
right.
And that, yeah, so that was kind of the big thing there. There was also kind of an existential crisis. It was like,
Okay.
what the hell's going on here?
Mhm.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And that, that confusion then kind of leads to decisions you make that you're not sure if you're making them because they're aligned with who you truly are or who you want to be or who you think others want you to be. And that may have led into that 10 years later, the next crisis. Um, lead, moving into that next crisis, can you like share where you believe you were in sense of self when you met
Mhm.
that individual that kind of rocked your world?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I was about 33, I discovered some trauma and some basically my earliest memories that
Hmm.
that had been trapped. And I discovered that in therapy.
Okay.
Um, and that, of course, had influenced the course of my entire life, you know. So there was a sense of like, wow, I've just spent like 33 years uh, misinterpreting the world, misinterpreting who I am, my own value. So it
Yeah.
really, of course, like I think for many of us, what happened when I was an infant, I made it mean that I wasn't worth security,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
Security, love, connection.
Hmm. Hmm.
So on a fundamental level, in fact, I remember explicitly as an 18-month-old
Wow.
interpreting the experience
Hmm.
as, oh, I'm not worth security, love, and belonging,
Okay.
basically. And that eventually caught up with me in the second kind of two by four along the head, which it was.
Yeah.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Um, in that essentially, I attracted a kind of sociopathic predator like
Okay.
personality
Hmm.
that took advantage of those deep underlying beliefs
Yep.
and used a narcissist will will find those weaknesses
Hmm.
and use those as best they can to
Yeah.
make, to diminish you and keep you
Absolutely.
in control. So, yeah. And I thought I had been doing work around that
Right.
because I had discovered that years before encountering this person,
Right. Right.
but I hadn't done enough work.
I get it. And when we talk about worthiness, it's possible that when you met her, how beautiful she was and all that, that you had a different sense of worthiness, that I'm worthy to meet and be with somebody this beautiful when you saw the outside beauty. It's possible. So let's get into
Absolutely.
how you met her, the worthiness you felt at that time, and why you think the attraction occurred, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? You're right. You're speaking to something that, and these types of personalities are experts at making you feel amazing.
Hmm.
And until they don't like something or, feel like they're losing control or whatnot. So yeah, no, you're right. From the get-go, I was treated incredibly.
Hmm.
I was treated really the best I had been treated by a woman before. I felt like, you know, she saw who I was and in my full glory, if you will, and really treated me like a king, if you will. Um, yeah, so that did, you know, it did kind of pull me in pretty quick. I think I told you our second date uh, was a week on a yacht coming through the Panama Canal. Beautiful actress, model. powerful, very socially intelligent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so that actually did feel like I was kind of leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people in this type of, I guess, personality type, and oftentimes like anyone who's in the spectrum of
Mm-hmm.
psychopathy,
Yeah.
there's something like they say there's something like 30% of humanity is on the spectrum.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
From the years of research I did afterwards, trying to
Yeah.
make sense of it all, I did
Right.
find some data on it. Then they say like 5%. What do they say? Like 5%. Let's say they say like 5% are. It's like a high number of these are CEOs of
Okay.
companies. Like they're very
Okay.
intelligent.
Yes. 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 Yeah. And driven.
Um,
It's
yeah.
intelligent and driven. Yeah.
hmm
Okay.
And control is a fundamental
Oh,
need. It's
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, at what point did it feel like something's off with this
Yeah.
relationship? Because
Yeah.
sometimes it takes us a long time, or it
Yeah.
takes one thing to strike a visceral chord.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually something I've never really shared publicly, but I will because I'm not using names. But we were about five weeks after starting dating. It was just a very high high. So as kind of as you hinted at, it felt like, wow, this is the relationship I've been
Mm-hmm.
wanting.
Yeah.
About 5 weeks. So we came home from the trip through the Panama Canal, and then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I took us to Italy for a friend's wedding.
Wow.
And so we were, at, Lake Bellagio, like super sexy, kind of James Bond lifestyle
Yeah.
going on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And we were down on the Amalfi Coast, and I got up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. We were in this
Yeah.
pitch black room,
Hmm.
and my knee bumped the bench at the end of the bed,
Okay.
and this guttural, almost like demonic sounding sound came out of her in her sleep. Like she didn't wake up. It was just this like rage came out. And I just
Wow.
like, oops, bumped the ow,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I froze and almost had chills. Was just like,
Oh,
what was
what
that?
was that? Yeah. Oh my God.
So she had done a really good job so far, the
Yeah.
first 5 weeks, kind of masking
Um,
this
yeah.
underbelly. And that was just a little bit of like that was interesting.
Yeah.
We got back to the States
Hmm.
and we were moving very quick. It was like, it really felt like the relationship, like we were going to make a family or whatever.
Yeah.
And we moved very quick. So we got back, and I want to say within a week of getting back to the States, we were moving in together.
Oh wow. Oh, jeez.
And
Okay.
yeah, moving very fast. And
Hmm.
and then within 1 week, I want to say it was 6 or 7 days into moving in together, she was arrested for felony assault. And she had called the police, which is the
Okay.
wild part.
Okay.
There are these like Amber Heard, like beautiful women that
Yeah.
will use their beauty and the social kind of contracts or norms around men.
Okay. So okay.
So
So the men would side men who would come to respond to that call would then side with the woman if it was against the
yeah,
man. Okay, I got you. Okay.
and I've gone through a lot of like owning a nightclub. I
Yeah.
probably myself put out at least a dozen fights just in that phase of life,
Yeah. Right.
and I'm
Right.
not a violent man. I've been
Right.
struck many times. I don't
Right.
strike back, even in the
Right.
heat of it.
Right.
Um,
Sure.
and
Did
so
you
what
ever tell
happened
her? I
is,
just say I want to rewind just very quickly. Did
yeah,
you ever
yeah,
mention to her about that gutturals in the sleep, big
I
demonic thing,
I
or did you keep
don't
it to yourself?
honestly, like I realized very quickly that I couldn't have an honest conversation with her.
Oh,
Like
okay. All
that
right.
that would have triggered another assault, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you hadn't been
Um,
assaulted. Like if like at the, when you were in Italy, and you
Yeah.
stumble on the table. Like when you woke up the next
Yeah.
morning, I would think
Yeah.
you may want to say, "Hey, you know what? Something weird happened last night. I hit my knee and boom." But you didn't do that.
I don't think I did.
All
No,
right, okay,
unfortunately. It
got it.
probably
All
would have
right.
been a good time though, because she was, putting on her pretty face. Maybe she
Mm,
would have been a little more responsive at that
yeah.
time.
All right. Well, you know what? It happened. Okay. All right. So now you're back in the
Yeah.
States, and she calls the cops on you, right?
Yeah, so yeah, and this is how it happened. I got out of the shower. I had left somebody to be with her. I knew that the person I was leaving, it wasn't meant to be. And
Uh-huh.
so the timing of it was very short. I basically
Okay.
left one relationship to go into another,
Got it. Yeah.
um, which is not something I generally like to do, but
Mm.
yeah, so I had just crushed this woman's heart. And I mean, when we were kind of splitting things up, she was, quivering, her like lips would be quivering, and I just felt, oh man, I just
Oh,
crushed
geez.
this
Yeah.
amazing human's heart. And
Yeah.
I was sharing with my friend, my new basically partner that I just moved in with, traveling
Yeah.
the world with,
Yeah.
obviously have a lot of love for.
Yeah.
I was just sharing like human to human, like, oh man, I'm just really feeling the heaviness of having hurt this person. And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it. Just
Right.
that's what I'm feeling. And she took that the wrong way and escalated, started getting really upset and flustered.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then saying things like, "Oh, you were with her the whole time," and I was super confused. I'm like, "No, no, I'm just talking about someone's feelings, and I just feel the
Yeah.
weight of it."
Yeah.
And within maybe a couple of minutes, started dialing 911. And I'm covered in water, just have a towel around my waist, very
Jeez.
confused.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've done a lot of work on myself and,
Yeah.
can handle a mature conversation and
Of course.
expect that from
Right. Right. Right.
others.
Yeah.
And she started calling 911, and immediately I sit back on the other side of the room with my phone and I start recording. I was so confused. I just
Yeah.
started
Really.
recording.
Definitely.
I'm like, what is going on right
What
now?
is going on? Yeah.
And she told the police on the other line, she said, I don't feel safe right now. This is my address. And I'm going, what is going on? As I'm recording, I'm so
Yeah.
confused.
Really. Yeah.
So now the police are on the way. She's telling me to stop recording. She goes into the kitchen, fills a pot with water. This is really explicit. I've never shared this
Okay.
outside of close friends, but I'll make it kind of short here. Basically, she filled a pot with water. She was saying, "Stop recording me, stop recording me." Threw the water across the room to try and, I guess, get my phone to stop recording,
Yeah.
and she didn't stop. So the pot is now empty. She then spent the next 15 minutes chasing me around, pounding me with this pot,
Right.
of which I had all on recording. So now, by the time the police get there, she's getting cuffed and spending the night in prison because they've got 20 minutes of footage of her chasing me around the
Oh, because
house.
you were so thank goodness you were recording because of your confusion.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, I mean, you're talking about an hour collectively, hour, 2 hours maybe, of everything's bliss. You share your heart, your vulnerability about heavy feelings, hoping there's compassion returned.
Yeah.
And now she's in jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even less. I mean, it was very clear what had gone on. The police, in fact, one of the cops said on his after they had done the police report, she's
Yeah.
now in the car with cuffs on. As he was leaving, he said, "Hey, man," there were like three cops, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey," he's like, "don't like you need to get out of this relationship and stay out." He's like, "You're gonna
Yeah.
end up with a knife in the back of your head."
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
And so the thing that's so confusing, I think, dealing with these types of people. So
Yeah.
the next morning, I mean, she went from this like basically a kind of extreme assault to totally switching gears into like tone of voice change, personality changes, totally like personally responsible, accountable. I'm going to go into therapy. I'm going to do ayahuasca. I love you so much, baby. And essentially convinced me to give her another chance.
Oh, so okay. Yep. I
And
get it.
that was my big downfall.
I get it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So the second chance happens. Probably the same kind of stuff occurs. How'd you get
Yeah.
out? How did you get out?
Yeah.
That's the hardest
So
part.
yeah, yeah, it was really hard. And unfortunately, I had already made the mistake. I should never have given her a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is something I've learned. You know, people show us who they are.
Yeah.
You need to believe them. Um, so yeah, it continued. So I would say every about 5 days going forward, I was being essentially assaulted.
Mm.
I would, it was pretty gnarly. I would, get locked in, and she was very strong. She would lock the door, and if I needed any type of space, like, hey, I'm gonna go on a walk, nope, she'd lock the door and assault me. I couldn't get any space, and
Yeah.
what it ended up being, uh, it started where I was kind of like convinced by this switch in personality because she
Yeah.
would just become so loving and so calm, and like her voice, and she just was so like just the embodiment of accountability and commitment to loving me, to
Mm-hmm.
this like switch in a
Yeah.
second. Could be anything.
Yeah.
I remember one time I asked, she was making burgers, and I said, can you put more mayo on my bun?
Oh no.
And this sent her into an absolute rage.
Oh my God. Leo. Jeez. Okay. Oh my gosh.
So,
All right.
so
So
and
that, yeah.
what it turned into was,
Yeah.
if like she would come to my place of business and become just hysterical in public, and I would have to like, okay, let's go on a walk, we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
If I made any implication that I wanted to be out of the relationship,
Yep.
it I would pay for it in a really big way.
I see.
Um, and so what it ended up being was, she the first time I actually got out of the relationship, I'm like, okay, great, peace. And within, I want to say 24 hours, one of my staff members at my business is like, hey, Leo, this person is telling people this on the internet at
Hmm.
scale, like contacting everyone in my network saying that I'm abusive.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And I've gone through a couple of phases in life where I'm a public figure. I'm a public facing business owner, and this was one of
Yeah.
them. And so I had something to leverage. So she was basically, and she basically had told me, if you leave me, I'm going to ruin your life. And so
Jeez.
that the pain of defamation was such that I essentially caved the first time, and I sent her an email and was like, hey, let's work this out. It had been like 2 days. I was just everyone's like, what, Leo's? And she,
Yeah.
framing this whole story about how I was abusive, using photos of, her injuries after breaking up her dog's a fight with a dog, which I actually cleaned the injuries, but like telling people on the internet that I did those things. And it was very confusing.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I made a mistake of saying, "Hey, okay, like let's work this out together,"
Yeah.
and getting back into relationship with her. So eventually, I want to say 6 months or less after that, I did get out, but not without paying for it, with defamation at scale. She spent 2 months, contacted over 10,000 people. She was impersonating me, stalking me.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So I lost pretty much, like, I had investors, I had, uh, significant amount of investment capital that had been committed to one of my ventures. All
Yeah.
my investors stepped away.
Oh my God.
Lost a lot of my community, um, and spent years really pulling out of that.
Oh God. Wow. All right. So at that point, you finally decided you're done. I mean, you gotta at that point. There's no more third, fourth, fifth chances, right? All right.
No.
you dig yourself out. I know you do a ton of breath work and stuff like that. Let's go into where you're at now, personally and professionally, because you're a strong man now, and what you're doing now to help yourself and help others who may be in similar situations.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, a big lesson and one that I'm definitely advocating through the breath
Hmm.
is, you know, and especially like in wellness culture, which
Yeah,
I've been in the wellness business for more than a decade. And
yeah,
um there's this idea of like becoming better,
yeah.
self-improvement, right? And I think there is a time and a place for that.
Right, right.
There's ways to improve ourselves, but I think what we don't acknowledge enough is our inherent value.
Okay.
And not to be like kind of like, I don't know, cliche about that. It's that what I've found is that my most powerful self, my most compassionate, eloquent,
Yeah,
funny, in many ways like magnetic and charismatic self
yeah,
is already in this seat. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
already that.
You are. Yep,
And
absolutely.
when I stop trying to be that and
Hmm.
actually get present, I am
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That's right. That's right. So I love that because I've gone through my share last 10 years of that as well. And the authenticity, when we're authentic, we are who we are. And it's you don't have to try, right? Um, what are you doing now professionally? Is it mostly the breath? I know you have other stuff going on, not just the
Yeah.
whole breath work stuff, which is important, very important. What are you
Yeah.
working on now?
Yeah, so it's all really for me, breath is the medium. It's not
Yeah,
the end. It's
right.
just like it for me, it's the most powerful. It's more powerful than pharmaceuticals for anxiety, stress, depression. It's more powerful than even yoga for anxiety, stress, and
Yeah,
depression.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's the reset button.
Right, right.
And it also can be used, and I think through a daily breathing practice, you do get more access to the present
Yeah,
moment, to
right,
that
right,
self.
right.
So yeah, so as you know, I'm have this breathing app. I'm writing a book called The New Creator,
Wow.
that's
Mhm.
tied to the breath. Like for me, creativity is really, I think of it as the most spiritual act, if you will.
Mm,
We create our lives, our families, our
sure.
meals, our professions.
Yep.
Um, and this is a way that I like to think of it as almost like cosmic lovemaking.
Hmm.
We're participating with life in a really big way. So I think
Right.
that's for me, creativity is essential to health and happiness,
Yeah.
and the breath helps us uncover that and unlock revelations and
Yeah.
all the cool things. Be a more powerful creator. I'm in a few months going to be going live with an event series called The Big Breathe, which is basically
Oh, wow.
mass. It's like mass breathing, more or less. There'll be the biggest breathing events in the world,
Yeah.
one city every month.
That's pretty cool. Wow.
Yeah. In fact, we'll be in New York, and I'll
Okay.
let you know.
Please do. Please
Maybe you
do.
can be there. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to know where and when, and I'll definitely spread the word in the New York, New Jersey area. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the audience certainly has captured the essence of you, Leo Mars, and they're going to want to get in touch with you. So, folks, go to Leo's website. It's Leo Mars, LeoMarrs.com. He's got an awesome newsletter and also his breathing app. You can access it called Ether, Ether. And there's a lot of other good stuff there, and you can reach out to him and get to know him a little more. Um, it's gonna add major value to your life. With that, I know we captured a lot of stuff, Leo. I do have two final questions for you. All right, so I'd like you to picture yourself in your happy place, and you're sitting down with 7 to 10-year-old Leo, and you want to give him advice about life, knowing what you know now. What are you gonna tell 7 to 10-year-old younger self?
Mm. I would tell him, don't be afraid of your truth,
Mhm.
of your intensity, of your enthusiasm for life. Don't be moved by other people's reactions to that.
I love
Yeah.
that. Absolutely love that. All right, now we switch gears, and now you're sitting down with young Leo, the young businessman, young entrepreneur, and you want to give him some business advice, knowing what you know now.
Mm.
What are you going to tell him about business?
Mm. That's that's funny because I feel like I learned this the hard way, but I would tell him um, slow down and connect to your deeper why,
Okay.
and don't feel rushed
Mm,
to
okay.
build a business because of what the world advertises to you. Find what truly lights you up
Mhm.
in the deepest parts of you and build that.
I love that. I love that. And the advice you give to the life advice you gave to your younger self and also the business advice can help both areas in life. There
Yeah,
is such commonality in our personal life and our business life that we don't need to. We can kind of share some of the advice for both sides of us. Um, I want to thank you, Leo, for being so vulnerable, for coming on, being so vulnerable, and for being the good human being you are. And I'm thankful that we met. Please keep doing what you're doing, and it's okay to give second chances to the right people. And we know
sure.
that. And then we've got to be careful about giving second chances to the wrong people. So I thank you for sharing that because there are people out there who are in the middle of it right now who are
Yeah.
definitely going to benefit from your experience and your sharing your wisdom. So thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, Drew, thank you. And such a pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody out there, you please take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.